Fire has always been humanity's most essential survival tool. But, few realize that the methods we typically imagine, striking flint against steel or stone, weren't the only ways our ancestors sparked life from the cold. In fact, in many prehistoric and early historic communities, a more reliable fire starter existed, one that used bones instead of stone. Archaeological records from Eurasia, North America, and even parts of Africa reveal that certain bones, carefully prepared and struck, could create sparks capable of igniting tinder, sometimes outperforming flint in speed and consistency. This technique was not a curiosity. It was a survival skill passed down through generations, especially in environments where flint was rare or weather conditions made stone unreliable. Spend the next minute with this explanation, because honestly, this isn't theoretical. You're about to learn how a single piece of bone, properly prepared and used, can spark life into firewood in conditions that would challenge even modern tools. Understanding this method offers a unique bridge between archaeological knowledge and practical survival application. Why bone was favoured over flint in some ancient cultures? Well, flint and other hard stones have long been associated with fire starting, but they have limitations. Flint requires a striking surface of steel or iron, materials not available in all regions or periods. Even when available, damp conditions reduce the effectiveness of the strike. Bone, on the other hand, offered a different chemical reaction. Certain dense bones, especially from large herbivores, contain minerals that react differently under friction and pressure. When scraped, shaved, or struck with metal or another hard object, these bones can produce hot shavings or sparks. In addition, bone is widely available, easy to shape, and can be used multiple times without wearing down as quickly as some flint edges. For ancient hunters in northern forests or arid plains, bone fire starters became essential. They didn't have the luxury of collecting perfect stones in all seasons, but bones from game were abundant, lightweight and portable. Once prepared, they provided a consistent, low-effort way to ignite fire, even in damp conditions where stone alone might fail. Now, let's talk about how to prepare a bone fire starter effectively. Preparation was absolutely critical. Archaeologists have found evidence that bones used for fire starting were often cleaned, dried, and sometimes even treated with heat to reduce moisture content. The marrow was removed and the bone was split or carved into a manageable size, typically no larger than a few inches in length. Hard bones from animals like deer, bison or cattle were preferred due to their density and mineral content. Once shaped, the bone could be scored or roughened with small notches. These notches acted as ignition points, allowing friction to generate tiny sparks when struck against a metal edge or hard stone. Some cultures also polish part of the bone to create a flat striking surface, while leaving the edges roughened for better spark generation. This careful preparation ensured that the fire starter would perform reliably in the field, even under challenging environmental conditions. So, why can bone outperform stone under the right circumstances? Bone fire starters are, surprisingly versatile. Unlike flint, which can fail in wet or cold conditions, bone structure reacts well to a variety of striking techniques. A bone piece struck at the correct angle with a metal tool produces tiny hot particles that fall directly onto tinder. This method reduces wasted effort and the frustration of failed sparks. Additionally, bone is less brittle than some types of flint, meaning it is less likely to shatter if struck with slightly too much force. In historical accounts and experimental archaeology, bone fire starters have repeatedly outperformed stone when conditions were damp, windy, or when only small tinder bundles were available. This makes bone an excellent tool for survivalists in modern applications. It's lightweight, renewable and, can be fashioned from leftover game, making it just ideal for off-grid, long-term camping or emergency preparedness situations. How you can replicate the bone fire starter today. Recreating this ancient technique is surprisingly pretty accessible. First, select a dense, dry bone. Large animal leg bones are ideal. Clean the bone thoroughly, removing any marrow and soft tissue. Heat treat the bone lightly over a small fire or in an oven to remove residual moisture and harden it further. Once dry, carve it into a convenient size, roughly 2 to 3 inches long, and score or notch one side to create friction points. Next, prepare your tinder. Dry grass, shredded bark, or fine wood shavings work best. Place the bone above the tinder at an angle and strike it with a small steel edge or even another hard bone. The sparks produced will fall onto the tinder and ignite it if the contact point and angle are correct. With practice, this technique can consistently start fires faster than traditional flint striking, especially in marginal conditions. A practical survival tip is to carry multiple bone fire starters pre-prepared in waterproof wraps. They can complement modern matches or lighters and serve as a reliable backup in situations where standard methods fail. Why this ancient method remains relevant today. The bone fire starter is more than a historical curiosity. It's a survival tool with enduring practical value. It demonstrates that ingenuity often relied on locally available materials and an understanding of chemistry and physics long before industrial tools existed. For modern survivalists, it offers a lightweight, renewable and effective method to ignite fire under conditions that challenge conventional tools. For history enthusiasts, it connects us to the resourcefulness of our ancestors and offers a hands-on way to experience a forgotten skill firsthand. Fire has always been life. Learning how bone was used to start, it reminds us that necessity breeds innovation, and that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most reliable. If you found this guide valuable, subscribe to Backyard Wisdom and share it with fellow history buffs and survivalists. Rediscovering these forgotten techniques keeps ancient knowledge alive and equips us with practical skills that still work today.